Good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. Today we're going to go ahead and discuss a few more issues about this disengagement business which is happening in the LAC. Now, we all know, and we discussed yesterday, that India had put it out that we had reached some kind of a arrangement with the Chinese on the LAC to resume patrolling and nothing more. Today, the Chinese spokesman has also come out and said there is a solution which has been reached on the patrolling arrangements, LAC, and all that, and nothing more has been said. Very interesting development, a significant development, and a positive development, but with inherent risks and understanding. Now, the issue is a lot of people feel that it's a damn good thing and X, Y, Z. A lot of people say, look, this is just the beginning. You have to be very careful with China and you have to be cautious with what you do. Their method is most sophisticated and this is only a tactical issue. And we can't trust China. Obviously, we can't trust China. That's a foregone conclusion. But let's not get into the hyperbole of all these issues. We need to do some cold analysis. Today, when I was thinking over the whole story, in the morning, two things came to my mind, and those two things are part of this headline. First, I thought this move leads to the string of pearls theory, to its deathbed. There's no more string of pearls anymore. I think this is the last pearl which has to be broken out of that string. And then I said, look, what's the Chinese logic of this arrangement? Why have they agreed to it? After all, 4 years back, they started the whole thing from now. If after 4 years you come to the whole same circle, ke bhai, wahin se shuru ho gaya, then what's something amiss? It's like, Taliban, America invaded Afghanistan, displaced Taliban to replace it with Taliban. Same thing. Why did they have to come all the way, stay at that bottleneck for 4 years, deny patrolling rights in Demchok and all that? And at the end of the day, they go back. There's more to it. What's the logic? And one has to see this from the Chinese viewpoint and how it affects us. So this is what I'm going to talk of today. And to be very honest, I didn't have time to invite anyone to discuss this issue because a lot of things going on in IIT for me, my projects. So probably next 2 days also, I'll not have time to even talk to anyone. But all of you, I'll make time for all of you. And I'll put across a few issues. So what's the few issues which we are going to talk of today? We're going to talk of the China's status overall, get an overview of where China is formally. Then I'll talk of the broken string of pearls because that I think is dead forever. And that's a major outcome of this dialogue. The major outcome of this arrangement between India and China. Then let's look at the LAC step back by China in the larger perspective. Why did they give in? And then we need to look at the BRICS and global leadership issues. So there's a lot of talk that, look, as a precursor for the Modi meet, this had to be done. Well, this happened when Gogra and I think Gogra and Hot Springs disengagement also took place. I remember there was some meeting, and so before that, to enable that meeting took place. But I think this time things are a little more than that. So let's look at it. Why China agreed to the whole story. Let's get to the start. Okay, there's a lot of internal discussion in China, and this internal discussion actually has been there for over about 6-7 months in their articles. A lot of people were asking, why is China in this situation? Why has China deployed over 50,000 troops or more in high altitudes along the LAC to achieve what? A few kilometers of barren countryside. In the process, it revived India. It made India into a regional power and a regional competitor. So, what did you achieve? This was the criticism against Xi Jinping. Many of us didn't understand this. Okay. So, there was an issue for Xi Jinping as to why China was in this situation. And what's more, as we kept rebalancing our forces to the north, either in eastern Ladakh or in the central sector or in the eastern sector, China kept reacting thereafter. After the initial thing in 2020. And they moved up troops on the IB, or rather the LAC. Now, as they moved up troops on the LAC, they kept deploying the reserves. Today, China finds itself in a place where it has very little offensive capability. It's a very simple thing. If you have 4 doors and there are 4 people in the house, and each person has to guard a door and he stands at the door, there's no one left for an attack or a counter attack. But if there are 4 doors, you guard them by some other means, diplomatic, whatever it is. And these 4 people are together at a point at a place. They can react on each door with 4 people. That's offensive capability. Because the enemy can't attack you from all 4 doors. He'll attack you at 1 or 2. You can do that. And in the third, you still have some capability to react. That China had lost. I mean, I'm putting it in as simple words as possible. So people are questioning this. And then, of course, it got caught in a two-front situation. I'll talk about it. The next thing which we need to understand is that there's a great reset happening in China. Whether it's their economic priorities, their military priorities, their political priorities. 2 years back, one couldn't have imagined that there was a problem between Xi Jinping and the Central Military Commission. Today it is so. Shankar, who is the deputy chairman of the Central Military Commission, is competing with Xi Jinping as per some inputs. And his political control is also not that great. So there's a reset happening. Xi Jinping's core ideology is being reset. But then you have to remember, Xi Jinping himself does resets. What happened during the COVID? Overnight, he stopped that, lockdowns. He just threw the mountains and let's go. So similar reset could be happening in China. And I think it's happening. So, but then here in India, a lot of people are counting their chicks or own chicks. भाई हमारे पास ये हो गया, तो ये तो बोलते हैं मोदी है तो इसने धक्का दे दिया. All that nonsense. We have to understand what does China gain from this arrangement. Have we assessed that? And where have we given it? Because this is part of the assessment. No one's going to tell you what's been given and what's the exchange rate going on. So let me try that. That's my attempt today. And that's what we have to look out for. What has China gained in this deal? After all, it's not a fool to step back. Okay? And What have we given to China, or what does China expect from us for this? Okay. Now, let's look at the overall status of China. We all know its economy is iffy and there's a marked lack of confidence. If this had not happened, I would have spoken to you yesterday about Tibet, and today I would have spoken to you about the pessimism in China. I'll still speak about the pessimism in China. There's a huge dose of pessimism in China. We need to understand that. And there's a lack of confidence in the people. People are not confident in China. Demographic decline is marked today. %60 of those people who are over 60, there's in a survey, have said that they don't have anyone to care for them. That's a horrendous situation. China is facing global environment and tensions, and right, it's full of tensions for China, and we'll talk of it a little later. I think there is a recognition in China of India's inevitable rise. I think the time has gone when China could suppress India. It will continue to do so. It will continue to cut your corners. So if it cannot suppress your rise, then it has to do something internally, isn't it? Get hold of your economy. Get hold of those things which will derail you or slow you down. Today, World Bank and IMF, they've come out some figures. They say that India's economy this year will be 7%. China's economy will be 4.8%. Next year, India's economy will grow at 6.5%, whereas China's economy will go down to 4.5%. So there are this inevitability of India's rise, I think, has hit them. Because I also see in Chinese media more news about India and discussion about India than before. A lot of it is criticism. A lot of it shows China and India in a poor light. But then, the fact that the number of times India comes up in news is increased phenomenally in the past 1 year. Now, let's not forget that Xi Jinping has this ambition for rejuvenation. It still rules. Well, it's not gone anywhere. Okay? And in China's calculation and in Xi Jinping's calculation, BRICS is the major platform. And it's a major Chinese initiative. It's a Chinese dominated grouping where China cherry picks who's to join. And China in the past has also attempted to bring in its global development initiative, security initiative, and civilization initiatives into the game for a Sino-centric world order. So the BRICS meeting, which is going on in Kazan, which is being telecast live in many channels, China feels it is its own grouping. BRICS plus Shanghai Cooperation Organization is the way forward for a China-centric world order. So is it a case to get the larger goal, China has sacrificed the smaller issue? Hota hai? Lose some, win some. If what you win is more than what you lose, first class. And within BRICS, the major opposition, if any, would come from India. Right? So, these issues one has to factor in when you look at China's status and why it did what it did now. Or that is agreeing to step back from the LAC. If you go by what it is, if it has status quo April 2020, damn good for India. Let's be very clear about it. But why did you have to do this for 4 years, Nautanki, and gain nothing out of it? Okay, now let's look at this business of string of pearls and all that. This is a string of pearls, isn't it? We keep talking of the string of pearls. Myanmar, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Pakistan, वगैरह वगैरह. यही तो string of pearls. But today, China has also got its own string of pearls. No? Understand, you look at the stars. Japan, Korea. The Koreas are a problem. And if the Koreas are in a problem, China is in a problem. Let's be very clear about that. I mean, many people don't understand this. If tomorrow North Korea falls, America plus South Korea will be sitting on the Yalu River, as in the Korean War. फिर तो गया काम से. It was a major issue. Korea. Today, it's, I think, a little more pronounced than what it was 6 months back also. Japan. Japan is as aggressive as it can be against China, probably in the past 4 or 5 years. That's what my assessment. Look at Taiwan. Taiwan continues to cock its finger, and say get lost to China. They did it recently. Philippines has stretched China out. Today, Chinese vessels and navy are operating almost on the Philippines coast, or over 1,000 kilometers away. To do that operation is not easy. And if you're committed there, you can't commit yourself somewhere else. Okay. And of course, behind that, USA is there. It's conducting FONOPS, freedom of navigation operations in all over between Taiwan Strait, all that. Every day you hear these news. So isn't China stuck in its own string of pearls, or contained in its own string of pearls? It is. It's feeling the heat. It's also in a two-front situation. It's stuck with you. It's stuck on the other side. If I were a Chinese, I'll say, yeah, let me get out of this. I'll talk a little more of this a little later. Now let's concentrate on the string of pearls. Let's see each pearl. Look at Pakistan, its biggest pearl against India. क्या हो रहा है? The situation in Pakistan is bleak for the Chinese. Every 3 months, Chinese get knocked off. And this attack at Karachi airport was quite devastating. If you analyze this thing, there was insider information exactly available to the BLA as to where these Chinese were loafing around, which means the armed Pakistani is prepared to give this information to BLA or anyone. So there's a problem. So if this can happen in Karachi airport, tomorrow it can happen anywhere else in Pakistan. And it can. So that string is, that pearl is very loose in that string. Kab girega ye nahi pata. Can China put a major base in Gwadar after such attacks? Forget the fact that Pakistan will repay or not. So there's an issue there. What happened day before yesterday? I think on Friday, which we missed. There was an attack in Myanmar, in Mandalay, on the Chinese consulate. No one died, but this is it. This is from Global Times. China strongly condemns explosion attack on Consulate General in Mandalay, Myanmar. Where is Mandalay? Mandalay is in the north of Naypyidaw. This actually in the center of Myanmar, on the China-Myanmar economic corridor. If there the Chinese consulate is hit, tomorrow it can get hit anywhere. So the interests of China are at stake in Myanmar also. And 2 days back, there was a lot of firing on one of the border towns with China, and China had to shut that border and do firing. They're having problems there. That Myanmar, for all its chaos, is creating problems more for China than us. We don't understand this. Maldives, 6 months back, everyone said China hai, wo China chala gaya. Maldives. They signed all this currency swap and all that. And today, it is South China Morning Post which comes and says India's strategic patience with Maldives appears to have paid off. Are they allies again? That is what they perceive. So there's another pearl of the string. Okay? And then look at this thing about, again, all these are South China Morning Post type of articles. Sri Lanka, wo bhi gaya. So you're looking at Myanmar, you're looking at Maldives, you're looking at Sri Lanka. In Bangladesh, their situation is iffy because the US, assistance to Bangladesh or the coup in Bangladesh or the revolution in Bangladesh, jo bhi bolo, actually has, shaken up the Chinese. They have lost the most, as it appears. But I'll talk of Bangladesh separately 3-4 days later because there are other interesting things happening. Uske liye ek alag we'll do a thing because that still remains another neighbor of ours. Okay. Look at this. This came out yesterday. Prime Minister of Bhutan. So this you must see closely. Let me enlarge it. So what does he say in this? He says, always happy to meet my friend, His Excellency Prime Minister Modi. So Bhutan is completely part of this, broken string of pearls. So one more gone. Just understand and look at this. All this has happened in the past 1 month, October 3rd to today. ये है कहानी. Yes, all these reports are within October. Diego Garcia is being given back to Mauritius, but this island of Diego Garcia, which is the main island, will be with USA. It will remain a base, but the outlying islands of Diego Garcia will be given to Mauritius back. And India has underscored the deal, and there is a role envisaged there for India. It's possible that you will have a naval presence in Diego Garcia or in the archipelago, the Chagos archipelago. So now, let's go to this. Dekho, this string of pearls, Bangladesh, leave Bangladesh and Pakistan, or Pakistan to gaya kaam se. The rest of this string of pearls are no more with China. They're broken. And they'll never go back to China. Take it from me. Oh, idhar udhar hoga. That I grant. You will have tu mai. But will these go firmly in favor of China like we always thought they would be? I don't think so. And you think that containment of China is going to run away? I don't think so. So remember this, that China has still got, ambitions of the being a China-centric world order and all that. But things are not going that well for it. It knows. And you see in this whole story, India is emerging geopolitically stronger. In this context alone, you forget about the influence in West Asia, Russia, Ukraine, and all that. I mean, consider the fact that the Iranian president has said he's looking towards Modi for, mediation between Iran and Israel. Look at the fact that Mr. Putin has repeatedly said, my good friend Modi, I'm prepared. I hope he gets us back to things. So all these issues would be weighing on China. I have no doubt about it. Now, if it wants to regain this area, it has to let go there. You can't expect China कि वहां भी पकड़ लो, यहाँ भी पकड़ लो, वहां भी पकड़ लो. It's not so. After all, their economy, everything we've seen. Okay. Now, let me examine the business of the criticality of oxygen. I mean, people don't understand it. What's the criticality of oxygen to China? I'll make the map bigger so that you have a good see. And those of you who are watching it on a mobile, I would request you to watch this on a laptop so that you see the map depiction clearly. I mean, this one has to understand in the larger context. You see Xinjiang and you see Tibet, okay? And you see the Himalayas, the Kunlun range and all. But let me focus something. This is the Pamir knot. From the Pamir knot, the fingers go east. One is the southernmost of the Himalayas, then the Karakorams, and then the Kunlun mountains, and then the Altantan, right? And top is the Tian Shan. The Kunlun mountains separate Xinjiang from Tibet. The connectivity is through Aksai Chin. This is Aksai Chin. And the road connectivity goes from Tibet to Xinjiang. If this connectivity is not there, Xinjiang has to be dealt with from the north and Tibet from the south. That is from Lhasa, Golmud, it has to come directly through the Taklamakan desert. And here also. The approaches vary. So if something happens in Tibet, and if Aksai Chin is not with them and India blocks China, from Xinjiang he can't move people here, and from Tibet also he can't move people there. So there's a problem. And Xinjiang and Tibet are, problematic counties or rather provinces for China. Now look at this. Where Aksai Chin is, Tibet, Xinjiang, I've said. Also, Aksai Chin is at a critical point where you reach into Xinjiang and then you see the bordering countries of China along Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and then of course POK. There are issues which China has. If you think everything is hunky-dory for China, forget it. And then this whole business of abrogation of Article 370, where you have claimed China, Aksai Chin back completely as your territory. It has upset China completely. It's upset its apple cart. And then don't forget what has just come up on the screen. This here. This is the DSDBO road, the Arbok Shok Daulat Beg Goldie Road. That gives connectivity into one of the worst sensitive parts of China. You go across the Karakoram Pass tomorrow in string and you block troops from either side, then all these sensitive border areas are at stake. And then CPC is also at stake. So Aksai Chin is very critical. Despite this, he's allowed you to patrol. We have to think, why? उतना आसानी से थोड़ी ना हो सकता है. In this such a critical place, if I were in China, I'll say, yeah, I pushed the Indians to the wall. Why would I step back? Critically, after all, this is the road which Zhou Enlai built and Mao built in the 50s after taking over Tibet. Okay. And then, of course, the Article 370. This is their writing. I've virtually copied it and put it in front of you. In 2019, India set up the Ladakh Union Territory and included part of Chinese territory. They call it the Chinese territory in the western sector of China-India boundary into its administrative jurisdiction. India argued that it is an internal matter when our affairs minister went to China and said, look, this is an internal matter. We are not interested in what you're doing. But China at that time itself said it is undermining Chinese territorial sovereignty. It was a political strike which we probably did not know. It didn't understand. That's my conviction. I have said this many places. And then they reacted the way they did. But after all this, why are they going back? Yes, a bigger game. They're confident that you will not go further, or what? There must be some understanding. Or they say, okay, yeah, we have to get out of the two-front situation. Or we say, okay, let me pull back and de-induct or de-escalate and create my reserve so that I can undertake an offensive tomorrow. All these calculations have to be taken care of. If you de-escalate, he de-escalates, so you'll have more troops in Ladakh and all that. Fine. But he'll concentrate them somewhere in central Tibet. And that lot which he concentrates in after de-escalation or purported de-induction, he can apply them in the east or in the central sector. Is he recreating the reserves which are committed along the LAC? Which the other day General Narayanan mentioned that he's got no offensive capability left or marginal offensive capability. All these issues are there. Now, we have to understand this. This is very important. I keep talking. This slide I keep telling everyone. China has been shifting goalposts for the past 50 years. In 62, they took Aksai Chin and other areas and occupied it by force, especially in the east. That was in 62. Post 62, what they did? They instigated the Sumdrongchu incident, rigged up LAC issues and disputes and intrusions. So the focus shifted. Now, post 2003, after the MOU with India, that is during the Vajpayee time, right? They started after 2003 till 2003. That was the time when 2003 is the time when we recognized Tibet as part of China, implicitly, nothing written. But once we recognized Tibet as part of China, they started claiming Arunachal Pradesh as South Tibet. And this should give us a lesson. You had an agreement with them, you had an MOU with them, and after that they said, nahi, yaar, ye hi nahi, hame South Arunachal bhi chahiye. So, and in 2020, they did what they did. Till now, this Depsang and Demchok face-offs are going on. But in doing so, they have violated all treaties and all border agreements. The behavior of China, I'm now giving you the actual behavior of China, is never to honor an agreement. So what is the guarantee that this time he'll honor this agreement? So, is it a tactical shift or it is a strategic shift? It's positive, I have no doubt. I'm proud of the fact that India is the only country. I mean, remember this is something very important. I should have spoken about this when we put the thing about we've broken the string of pearls. India is the only country which has made China take a step back, not once, twice, thrice. They were forced to take a step back in Doklam. We pushed them back. It was a rude shock to them. 2020, they were forced to go back from Chushul. They were forced to break their own defenses in Chushul, North Bank, and all that and go back. In fact, in North Bank, they went back 9 kilometers where the buffer zone is. And now this is the third time that they've vacated those areas which they had occupied, especially in Depsang area, or they are about to vacate. We don't know. Now, is this patrolling arrangement the big question? In the past 4 years, they've built a lot of infrastructure there. Will that infrastructure remain or get broken? When they allow us to patrol up to the PP 12, 10, 11, 12, 13, which I showed yesterday in the map, it is implicit agreement that they are allowing us to patrol up to our perceived line of the LAC. Isn't it? In which case, will the infrastructure be allowed to remain there? Will they break it like they did in Pangong? So it's a question which you have to watch. And then, how far would they like to come and patrol in our areas on the ground? Will they come as per their historical thing, or they'll ask for more? Or have we agreed for more? All these questions are up in the air. And we will get the answers when the fine print comes out. And then we'll see. And I'm still talking about only the ground situation. And I'm not talking of, trade, shade and all that. Wo alag baat. We are talking about this. Whereas we should plan for that. Isn't it? They have shifted the border. Look at their strategy, look at their outlook, look at what they're doing. He's allowed you only this half of what it is in the bottom, because we don't know the full story. Whereas a lot of steps. So while it's a good thing which has happened, my problem is, and my issue is, I wouldn't say problem, my issue is, we need to plan for the thing. And that is a more important aspect as far as I'm concerned. Right. Okay. Next, let's look at this. What is the LSA situation connected with this? You are only going through the disengagement at this point of time. What has been agreed to is a disengagement. That you will not be in a face-off situation. The modalities we won't know, but I expect that disengagement will happen. What about de-escalation? What does de-escalation mean? That troops move out of a particular area. How will that happen? That those details are not come. I suppose that will take time also, because maybe in the next military to military meeting that will come out. And then the big question of de-induction. Will we keep our troops up there, or we have the confidence to come back? And the question is, what will happen to all the border infrastructure we are developing? Will there be any change or not? And we also have to understand, today I was speaking to one of the battalion commanders who commanded his unit here. He says, sir, agreement to bahut ho sakte hain. There are a lot of agreements which happen at the top. For 5, 6, 7 months, 1 year, 1.5 years. These agreements are followed and all that. Slowly, the border, that agreement is lost sight of because of border dynamics. Because troops being in contact with each other. Slowly, people start violating. And then it will lead back. After all these agreements were there earlier. Yet, 2020 happened. And this is what China will take advantage of. He's waiting for us to violate the border or manufacture a violation. Will he get back to salami slicing? So we have to be careful about this whole story. And we have to be very careful about the induction, if it all happens. But that's the third stage. We'll talk of it later. We're still at the first stage. So you take a look at this. We are talking about the bottommost goal, and you're talking about the first stage of the LAC situation. The needle has just moved. But the positives are, it has moved. He has moved back. I see some people saying, "Oh, China, has done this very tactically, strategically, and the Chinese outlook is very sophisticated, X, Y, Z, and it's going to be a difficult affair." It is a difficult affair. Who said it's not a difficult affair? Why should we underestimate ourselves that we can't handle China? We are the only country who has handled China the way it has been handled in the past 10 years at least. Whether US chaps go around in the South China Sea or not, these chaps are merrily doing what they have to do. And let's not forget, there is much more to come in this whole story, and China is not our friend. What's the macro perception? What's the macro perception of China on this whole story? If you don't understand this, we are living in a fool's paradise. They feel that what we want from them is permanent in nature and irreversible. What we want is a solution to the border. If they give the solution to the border, it is not reversible. We want them to stop supporting Pakistani terror outfits and Pakistan. If they do that and they renounce that support, again, it's not reversible. And especially at UN and all that, if they go and talk against Pakistan, kaput. And they feel that what China wants from India is temporary and we can reverse the situation. And this is the thought process, not now. It's been there for a long time. What do we want? What does China want from us? Normalized relations and opening bilateral trade. Not aligning with USA. They feel that, okay, they do the first two things because we say the second two things, and tomorrow we change our stance. They are left with that thing, so they will never. Remember this. And the thinking in China is if China accedes to Indian demands, it will be a loser in the long run. This is the next important point. Okay. Now, let's continue this thinking process. India sees China as its primary threat, while China sees India as a secondary challenge. And this is very important. People have been asking, why are you against the secondary challenge? Why are you committing your resources against India? Handle India differently, diplomatically, politically, economically. Because if you commit your military against India, you cannot take care of your main enemy, that is USA. And China distrusts us because our ties with USA are increasing. And they'll do anything to break it. And what's going to happen in BRICS is part of that story. I'll come to that. And then China balances India by propping up Pakistan and by its string of pearls theory. And China will do anything to prevent India-US alignment. And China is also worried that the problems from India could spill over into China. When they say China, you're looking at Tibet. They look at China. I mean, they look at Tibet as part of China, but they're worried about Tibet. Oh, this is the American view. Two-front war. India presents China a two-front problem. This is what I spoke yesterday. I mean, earlier, the same thing. Right? So, right. Don't forget that story. Why this whole thing is happening. So, Chinese issue. China has done all this. Despite this, they've reached the solution. This is what their foreign ministry spokesman has said. So the question still begs an answer. Why have they agreed to this to get back to the start point? Still the question is open. Why did they come? And why are now they going back? You look at the answer is probably somewhere here. BRICS. Today's Global Times in the morning is all about BRICS. I will look at it closely. See the headlines. All about BRICS. Okay. You see Xinhua, all about BRICS. ये कहीं late in the evening that foreign ministry chap said, and one line has come out. I couldn't get that in here. So the idea of BRICS is bigger to China at this point of time because BRICS gives them a bigger platform. They don't mind letting go of this 5, 6, 7 kilometers of territory, especially when they feel that they can handle India. So there's a, or by pulling back, they can militarily handle India by creating more reserves. Is he recreating reserves? He's politically recreating reserves. We have to understand this. There's something which will come out, but these are the pointers. We'll analyze it as we go along. This is important. US, China, Russia, strategic stability hangs in the balance. He's seeking this. Somehow he has to prop up Russia so that it continues to put pressure on EU and USA. Russia can't lose as far as China is concerned. And here he has started, supporting Iran, Hezbollah, Houthis, and Hamas. That is very clear today. And aim is who? USA. He's playing that game. And the one who can tilt the balance in this game is India. So he has to wean India away from USA. He must. So this ploy. And then look at Russia. Russia is doing its best not only to ensure that the BRICS summit goes through well, but he's also looking at the new financial order of a new payment system, X, Y, Z. I don't know the contours of the payment system. I've not understood it, but I will understand it better when the meeting finishes, and then we'll see what it is. Of course, yuanization is not happening. There's no common BRICS currency because even that payment system is based on some rubles and all that. I don't know what the story is. It's not clear, but they're trying that. And if Russia does that, he'll be doing it at the behest of China. Because they both feel that USA is the bigger problem for them. They have to, otherwise they're sunk. So this is as far as China is considered, this is a tactical move back for the strategic global game. Of course, USA has not yet reacted fully. It's also reading the tea leaves, smelling the tea leaves, which way it's going. But it's going to have an effect on USA. It's going to be a big shock for the USA. And what's happening in BRICS will be seen intimately by USA. Because it's India which swings the balance, one way or the other. In a way, it's good for me. Why? Because the US-India relationship was running off rails. At one level, we were doing Malabar exercise and military to military contact and all that. And at the State Department level, there were things going awry. The Panoon case and the Panoon, Patwan Singh, Guru Patwan Singh, Panoon, Canada, and this ambassador here, Garcetti, shooting his mouth off in a different direction. What's happened in Bangladesh? There are thoughts. So we need to reset the India-US relationship also. There's a case for it. And we must be very clear where Russia and China are going. Russia might be one of our best friends. No issues. But Their closeness with China is on a different level today. They have, Russia has a common understanding at the top leadership level, military level, diplomatic level, and every level. So to blindly bet on Russia has also its pitfalls. So when I look at it, from a point of view, what is China's deal? India is now balancing the three big boys. Yeah, we have to be careful of one thing. China, Russia, and USA are big powers and technologically self-sufficient powers. Okay? And if we are the fourth power, which we are not technologically self-sufficient. We are dependent, technologically dependent, where technology is a major currency in global affairs today. And let's look at China. What does China want to do? It wants to sideline USA through the RIC. So, in some manner or the other, the RIC is its aim. Displace China, ensure that India comes towards Russia and China. Displace USA. Sorry. Displace USA, ensure India swings towards Russia and China. It needs economic revival. And for economic revival, it needs India. There's no other country it can go to today. Or people will say India doesn't have trade, all that. But if Chinese investment comes into India, then its revival will start. It has to start somewhere, no? It's a big mountain to climb. And then it gets its handle into India to manipulate our economy. And there are enough greedy businessmen here and foolish politicians who will go this way. And it wants to break the Indo-Pacific strategy. So that construct it wants to break. Now, what does China want? China wants to balance USA and China. Russia wants to balance USA and China. Keep China on its side, push USA away. That's the balance. And so that it can prosecute its war in Ukraine. It needs China for economy and diplomatic support. Without that, Russia will collapse tomorrow. And it also needs India for its economy and diplomatic support. That's a major issue. And there's a military interdependency which is developing between Russia and India on one hand and Russia and China on the other hand. So Russia also will do its best to develop that RIC. So who's the third angle? Let's look at it for China, USA. It wants to contain China very clearly, which we had spoken of, and restrain Russia from prosecuting the war. A lot will depend on what happens in the US elections. Right? It wants to propagate its Indo-Pacific strategy. And it wants to build military interdependency with India. Now, and it is in a state of military interdependency with India, especially in the Indo-Pacific region. Without India, there's no Indo-Pacific. If India was on the US side, it can take on Russia and China. And India is also a conduit to handle or restrain Russia. That restrain Russia is through India. So India is in this thing. And this ploy from China is at an opportune time when it sees that our relations with USA are not very good. So all these factors come into play. So India needs to look at its interests and only its interests. Trust no one. If I say in the order of trusting or lack of trust, China at the top, followed by Russia and then USA. Or rather, China, Russia, USA, and Russia. I will not trust anyone. Maybe some extent China. Maybe to some extent Russia. Nothing more. Let's not get taken in by the Chinese charm. It's going to come. Let's not get taken in by the machinations of Russia, which is happening. It's happening in BRICS and US bullying. It's bullying us through Canada. It is bullying us directly. That ambassador here, Garcetti, he keeps shooting his mouth off every second day. But to do all this, you need to build your own economic, military, and diplomatic strength. That's my problem. Right? I'll leave with this. This is what I had to say today. If you have any questions, I'll take on, and I see a lot of questions in this. So, overall, good development. There's not full clarity. I've opened up on you a few angles to all of you today. There's one thing which I've not touched on today, and I've not touched on Tibet. What will happen to Tibet? How are you going to handle Tibet? You have to look into the future. And when you look at Tibet in the future, it's not just 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. You have to look at it over a 10 to 15-year horizon. And that is what I'm going to discuss tomorrow. The future of Tibet. I was to discuss it actually yesterday. But yesterday being, this whole thing came up. So I got Rajiv Narayanan to talk on this. Today, this. A follow-up of yesterday. And tomorrow I'll talk of Tibet because that's what I spoke to the Tibetans the day before on Sunday. Right. So let me take the questions. A lot of questions. We'll see. Okay. Can we trust China on the LAC one summer or autumn? No, we can't. Trust is out of question. There's no question of trusting anyone. Navdeep Singh, please invite. No. Yeah, he's on a different wavelength. Navdeep Singh, please understand. Gaurav Arya is a good guy, damn good guy, but he's not on my wavelength. He talks differently, and my analysis is completely different. Okay. Yeah, if you think China decides to go back from LAC to facilitate BRICS meeting, that's letting our guards down, which means, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you completely. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, then Shankar, if China wants to attack India, what might be their strategy? What is our weakness and strength during the counter? There's no question of attacking. I told you, at this point of time, they're fully committed. They have to step back, stabilize their situation, recreate reserves, and then think of things. We don't have a problem at this point of time. Don't worry. What are the Chinese weakness points? Are we strong in these areas? Yeah, we have a lot of weakness. They have a lot of weaknesses along the IB. Their main weaknesses in Demchok. They have a major weakness in the northeast in Sikkim. They have further in Arunachal. I'll not put all those issues to you. And even in the central sector, they are weak. It's not as if we can't do. We can do a lot. So whatever comes out of the ongoing BRICS meeting, we need to be careful. I agree with you completely. Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma ended his talk yesterday on the print saying that in future, India has to verify, rather than trust but verify. I agree with General Rakesh. There's no doubt. You can't trust China. There's no trusting. You just verify. You don't. I would put it. I'll say distrust and verify. Okay. Yeah. Amitesh is General Sir not going to JD Summit. Why for us? General is one of the biggest stars at JD Summit as audience. Look, let me put it. I have some work here. Many more important things than JD Summit. At some point of time, JD Summit is just a summit. But I have actually issues which I have to deliver. And I can't. That's more important for me than this thing. That's why I pulled out. 4 years ago, yeah, CCP was trying to break India any which way. I agree. Good evening, Maulana ji. Uh, yeah, China is not a trustworthy neighbor. They're just buying time. Fully agree with you. No, it's not buying time. They're doing something very. It's not buying time. They are doing something very deliberately. Understand that. We have to see what that is. Is India sacrificing its strategic neutrality and worse, joining the wrong side? Is it burning its bridges? I don't think so. As that, in a way, it is good that USA will come to its senses and start behaving after this event. So far, but let's see how our own government behaves, how our politicians behave, how our businessmen behave. Yeah, walking down on his arrival, walking down the airplane stairs, holding the side railing, showed a bothered and worrisome. That's okay. I have not seen that, so I'll not comment on it. When do you think China will accept the McMahon line, return Exciting and Park? They'll never return anything. You be very clear about it. Why did I explain to you all what's the importance of Exciting? You think he'll give it back to you? You must be living in a dream world. No, it will not happen. Do you think China is behind the Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran conflict and any future? Yeah, Russia is, China is now supporting Russia. It is supporting Iran. Where's the doubt? It has thrown its weight in one direction. I told you about this also that they're against USA. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Venki. Sir, a stupid what if question given this development on India, China, and ongoing war fatigue. What if Ukraine opts to dump NATO and reaches out to BRICS? I don't think it is feasible. But what if? What if? What if this happens? But let's forget what if. If it is to happen, if this is to happen, first Zelensky has to go. Zelensky has to go completely. Means there has to be a overthrow of the government in Ukraine. Okay. Now, Ukraine has some special social characteristics which it has developed. There are a lot of people today most of the youth of Ukraine are out of Ukraine. It's only the old people who are in Ukraine. And the Ukraine army is largely mercenary in nature. So he will not. That means Ukraine is then destined to be part of the Russian biosphere. And it will be part of the Chinese biosphere. So all this preconditions will Ukraine accept? One. Number two, there's a flip to this. Will USA and EU accept this happening? Will they let Ukraine go that way? In my own opinion, Ukraine should have made an accommodation with Russia at the outset. And he was prepared to do so till Boris Johnson went and convinced Zelensky not to do that. He'll give all support, all that. This was in the first year itself, in the first 3-4 months. Or 6 months, I don't remember when. At that time, Putin was ready to give accommodation. If they had done that, it would have been, what you're saying now should have happened 2 years back. And if Putin had been reassured that, look, we are not going to be part of NATO and we are going to be neutral and we are not going to join the EU, he would have withdrawn. But that didn't happen. Now it's too late. All the bridges have been burnt. And Zelensky doesn't have a choice to doing it. Unless Zelensky is out, this hypothetical question cannot be answered. Thanks, Uday. Thanks a lot for your super sticker. But Venki, that was a very interesting question, all the same. I must say so. Okay. Yeah. Do you think you used a very interesting term, the broken string of pearls? It changes 180 degrees the famous term Chinese string of pearls. What drastically changed so drastically for this? Look, there are two, three major issues. One, India started rising. India started asserting itself. China has started declining. And people have realized the true worth of China as a friend or not as a friend and debt trapping. All these nations, whether you call it Myanmar, you call it Pakistan, you call it Sri Lanka or Maldives, they have had only bad experiences with China. Till they were having good experiences, China was their best friend. Today, you see, I've shown you the actuality and all this news coming from China. So there is an issue there. So we have to look at it from a different view. And as we grow and as we become power of in our own right, we need to have the confidence to talk this way that it's the broken string of pearls. We have broken it. Yeah, Chagos Islands, I did mention about. I don't know why you mentioned this. I'll talk about it. Yeah, I don't understand why we are entertaining all the talk about Chinese FDI and granting visas to his engineers and technicians. How can we so blatantly take money from him and get into bed with them? Shritek, please ask some of our industrialists and some of our politicians. This is completely a commercial story. And India is full of Jaichans. Please understand that. You cannot we cannot wish those Jaichans away. Yeah, thanks a lot, Venkatesh. Uh, Russia is our all season friend, and we must maintain our good friendship with Russia only. I agree with you, but to a level. Russia has its own compulsions. It's in Russia's interest that India and China unite against USA. And Russia will do anything to make that happen. I wouldn't be surprised if China and Russia have got together to woo India. So you have to be careful on this front. As far as you can trust Russia for dealing with any other nation except for dealing with China. I will not take it at face value. In Hindi जो बोलते हैं ना परख के देखूंगा मैं ये परखना पड़ेगा. Did you hear that someone spat on King Charles? I don't know. Yeah, CCP's heavily ordained Middle Kingdom complex will persist. That complex will persist, but will it be in Middle Kingdom? It's already in the very lower story. Ground floor में आ गए हैं वो. आजकल China में there are so many floods that China is flooded these days. And I'll talk of it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll talk of it because climate change. Remember, I once told you people in one of my things that climate change and demography are the two weakest and the biggest threats to China. And it is these two threats which will give Tibet their independence, and I'm going to talk of it tomorrow. How are we planning to help Tibet out? Recently saw a map where China has built villages inside Bhutan all across west to north near Arunachal as well. This is a grey rhino. I agree with you. This is basically in the top, Pasamlang and Jakarlong. They've done that. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how to do all this. We have to think about all this before we come to an accommodation with China and sell Bhutan out then. I mean, virtually we can't let them down. But right now, it's not such a big issue. What is your take on actual Chinese population in 2024? Is it 1.4 billion or less? I think it is less. How much less? Can it be 400 to 60 million less? How such a miscount is possible? Okay. What I'll do is I'll do a special episode on Chinese population and the issues involved. I'll do it. Just let's get this over. Maybe next week sometime. Ajay Raina and oh, you're talking of Jaipur dialogue. Yeah. So sorry, why Indian politicians generally behave like chicken, dealing other Western nations, where as even tiny countries talk nonsense against India or aggressive. Yeah, that you know, ask the politicians. Why are you asking me? Our politicians are greedy fellows, and they have no bloody clue of what life is all about. Let me be very clear about it. They don't have a strategic outlook at all. Okay. Well, sir, Lay's Real Talk as YouTube is a very good channel to listen to the latest Chinese news. She's from Taiwan. Yeah, I keep listening to her on and off, but I find her a little boring these days, to be very honest. Except some issues, nothing much comes on. See, remember one thing. Uh, all these China Observer, China Focus, I said, बहुत हैं. Even Israel Talk and all. They talk small things, which is good to get information. But geopolitically, if you're looking at analysis, there's a different story. What I do is analysis, right? Get together various facts, put together, and give you a picture. And what they do is news. They do media. I'm not in that game. And my analysis is 360 degrees. You know, if I see a thing, I see it, and I look at the the 359th and the 360th degree, and then give you a thing. So there's a difference. I mean, all the best to them for what they do. I'm not against them because they have better views, they have more subscribers, they're getting more money, and they're more attractive in terms of to listen to. Mine is boring. You know, my talk is boring, except for those people who are serious about understanding what's happening. But what I'm proud of is whatever I have said so far has come correct on China. Completely. 3 years back, 4 years back, you look at channels I went to, there's Adi's, Defense Talks, and P Gurus, and Jaipur Dialogues, and many places. I said they will go back one day. They're going back. And I said China will decline. They're declining. Right? I said China cannot attack Taiwan. So far, they have not attacked Taiwan. China is not a good, not it's an unstable country. It is an unstable country. I said China is overstretched. It is long before this business of population came up. I did a thing on population 3 years back, the analysis on population. People said, यार ये कौन सा बेवकूफ आदमी है ये सब बात कर रहा है. अब देखिए पुराना हमारा long before the property crisis came on the horizon, I spoke about the property hole in Pakistan, in China. I believe in deep analysis, and I have no doubt in boasting that I have been correct. Show me one prediction of China which has gone wrong on mine. Yeah. Yeah, as you said yesterday, India has 10 to 15 years geopolitical opening. It is time for India to go for POK. No, no, no. We shouldn't do all this nonsense. POK, GAB, that's a bevkufi. Just progress. If you progress, this window of 10 to 15 years will expand. Don't go for anything POK, GP. We don't need it. They will come to us automatically. Give 10 years to Pakistan, it will collapse. It will not, many precipitous tendencies in happening in Pakistan. Automatically, there'll be problems in POK, GP, then you take it. Be patient, strategic patience. Model stop Gohatia. Gohatia. Oh. You said China will apply tuna for a temporary period, and once it revives itself, it will start troubling India again. But so, how long is this temporary period? Any prediction? Yeah, I very clearly said it already. Watch that video. Coming war against China. Watch it. I've given the timelines. Or danger will be not now. 2 years hence. That's when I think the danger period starts. 2025 end 26. Maybe mid 26 is to me a critical period, and up to 2030. After 2030, it's over. Finished. Yeah. What can be the reason for Z visiting Rocket Force and telling it to prepare for war? Also, a propaganda video regarding China assembling 1,000 cruise missile in an auto. It's all bunk. Xi Jinping is worried about his missile force. Let's be very clear. He sacked guys. He sacked generals of the missile force. He's also sacked aerospace industry CEOs. He's sacked those who are politically connected and overseeing PLARF. He's worried about his thing. You think that launch which you did with the ICBM was for fun? Everyone said it is to tell everyone that I have a ICBM. For me, it appeared as if it was something meant to reassure the nation that we can fire. They've had accidents with a DF-31 took off from somewhere in the coast and hit Beijing, of all places. It's happened, and that's on video somewhere. Yesterday also, I think Rajiv spoke, or the last one. This has happened. I believe that videos in public. Their submarines have gone down, so they have problems. They have, and Z has to reassure himself that his PLARF can deliver the results tomorrow. That's his main weapon of deterrence. Yeah. Yeah, your suggestion on Bharat needing to be careful is valid. However, what are your thoughts on how to consolidate position for proactive action if needed? Look, if you do not invest in your military, forget it. At this point of time, our government has not invested in the military to the required degree. People have said we should. There's I think Mr. Nitin Pai has written an article in Mint where he said we should spend 3.5% of our GDP on defense. And he said earlier, I used to think less than 2% is okay, but now seeing the geopolitical condition, we need to go to 3.5. That's not the way to do it. We should have done it long back, at least 2.5. Even now, 3.5 is not good. It's not good. What you need today is around less than 2, which you're at 1.9. You start investing more because you can't, it is like if you're a hungry man, I give you 10 kg of rice, you can't eat it. But if I'm a hungry man and I eat half a kg of rice every day for the next 20 days, then I'll become a happy man and a healthy man. So you go this year, 1.9%, it's gone, forget it. Okay. Next year, go to 2.2, 2.3%. The year after that, go to 2.4%, 2.5%, and maintain a steady rate of 2.5%. Defense planning is complicated. Maybe someday I'll explain to you the intricacies of defense planning. Okay. You have to take a lot of decisions. So I'll explain. Maybe it'll be a good idea to explain to all of you the intricacies of defense planning. It'll be a boring episode. Let me also tell you that. But it'll tell you what the whole story is all about. Yeah, before 2017 BRICS, same thing happened. That I think was around Duklam time. So how is Ukraine able to hit arms depot of Russia with all air defense? So could you make a video? And do we have the capability as Ukraine drones? Yeah, we have. We have in some form. Don't worry. They're now fighting a different form. Ukraine is fighting a different form of warfare. They're going for selective attacks. They're not no more bothered about the ground situation. They've taken the battle to Russia. They've sunk half of Russia's Black Sea fleet. Okay. Now they're hitting Russia in the rear. So that is why Russia is getting pulled back. Russia cannot go forward now. So with Xi's health situation, economic decline, population decline, is it possible Xi wants to invade Taiwan in the next few years? He wants to, but he cannot. Be rest assured he cannot. For that, you must see that video I did with General Rajiv Narayanan on invasion of Taiwan. In order to do that, is he de-escalating from India? Possible. See, unless it de-escalates from India, he cannot think of Taiwan. He cannot think of many things. But his bigger problem is that, look, how does he control his own nation? How does he ward off the threat? I told you, Japan, Taiwan, Philippines, all Korea. If the situation goes unstable in Korea, all this is nonsense. That will become first priority. I mean, maybe one day I'll explain to you what's the situation in North Korea, South Korea, and how that situation is critical. That is super critical, actually, as far as I'm concerned, for China. Yeah, just like the Hong Kong agreement was violated, CCP won't keep agreements. I agree with you completely. Okay. Then, is it difficult to fathom or missteps the strategic patience we have shown over the past 6 decades and more has fully exposed China to everyone who cares to look obvious? I agree with you completely, Akash, that our approach has been good with China. Let me be very honest about it. And I've maintained this. I've always maintained that the Indian Army has better capability against China than what we think. I've always said that our politicians have handled China better than many other nations. But our problem is internal. Okay. So our problem is internal. We are not doing enough. And we get distracted by the stupid Pakistan and what's happening in America. We should have our ideas clear. Right? Exposing China has got no value. You have to force China to accept your point of view. Today, whatever is happening is not because of India's strength, because of China's own internal issues. What will be the outcome of or impact of a potential bilateral meeting between Xi Jinping and Modi in BRICS? What signals will it send to? Yeah, I told you. USA will start reevaluating. But look, why I look at it, didn't Biden and Xi Jinping have a bilateral meeting in San Francisco last year? So why shouldn't Modi and Xi Jinping not have a bilateral meeting? Let's see. Just by having a bilateral meeting, will things run away? Did things run away from USA and China? No, things are still going on. Their problem is still more. In fact, it has gone bigger. So a meeting between Xi Jinping and Mr. Prime Minister Modi is good if it happens. It will send its own signals to USA and it will clarify many issues. Let's see what happens. Let's see. What would be the outcome if the Kazan meet fails to move along the direction as is faced by China and Russia? More trouble? Be prepared for it. As simple as that. See, there's another issue. China also, we keep saying, but China will not go back and all. It's suffering casualties. It suffered 55 casualties last year in high altitude in eastern Ladakh only. In the entire Indian army, we wouldn't have suffered that along the entire front. People dying, and we are more committed in high altitude than China is. Remember, a large part of our altitude is against Pakistan also. So, China has its own problems. Why he is not getting enough reserves? That's why he's not getting enough recruitment. That's why he's had to do 2 enrollments in a year. And he is now calling up reserves. People think calling up reserves is to go for a war. No, he doesn't have recruits. Yeah, I think this is an interesting comment. Not sure many understand how close globalism is to complete failure. If the Middle East goes up in flames, oil prices soar. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, This is a great achievement for India, but India has offended Canada and has a bad relationship with China. How does this position itself, Vishwabandhu? No, I don't think Vishwabandhu or Vishwa or that Vishwa Guru or all that nonsense. Yeah, just we have to do what we have to do, Mingu ji. आप चाइना के हो या पता नहीं where are you from, but let me assure you, if China does anything against us, it will come to grief. Already it has come to grief after 4 years. If after 4 years you have to go back to where you have started from, then what is your strategy? It's foolish. I think someone has said China is doing a sophisticated strategy. If this is your sophisticated strategy that you start from one point and after 4 years are at the same point, that is stupid. So whenever China tried to debt trap, USA outsmarted them with printed dollars. Taking a lesson, should we use UPI as replacement strategy and secure our position like a digital BR? Yeah, we are already doing that. I mean, this is something we are doing because we've offered UPI to Maldives, to Sri Lanka, and all our neighboring countries. If tomorrow you give UPI to Bangladesh, and all things will change. A lot of countries are adopting your UPI platform, even in Africa. That's part of the game. In fact, I will put it this way: de-dollarization might or might not happen. Yuanization will not happen. And use of UPI will grow. These three predictions I'm making today. America's business is business. A business for which America has gone to wars is oil. Question is Bharat number two refined petroleum exporter behind USA cause of rift. No, I don't think so because today if US Indian refining capability is not there, the global oil and petroleum imbalance will be huge. So I don't think that USA knows that. Yeah. Mm, as a few prominent YouTube channels, some genuine experts said that China has gone beyond 2013 LAC situation disengagement. Is it true? PP10 to PP13 are allowed to be petrol. Look, let's get the details out. I don't want to comment on that at this point of time. Apparently, it appears so, but let us see the fine print. Sir, can we say non-alignment and strategic autonomy are the same? No, it's not. Strategic autonomy is the ability to do what you want. Non-alignment is you will do nothing. You will keep both at this thing. Strategic autonomy is you have to do what you want in the best interest, even if it's going against both or all your guys. Can India do something to stop Israel? Well, India, for that, the Palestinians and the Hezbollah and Iran and Houthis have to stop doing what they have done to Israel. This is not a problem of our making, this is a problem of their making. So that is something they have to sort it out. How to sanitize, constrain Chinese investment into India? Does the government really thinking about this factor? I don't know, to be very honest. That's my worry. That's my worry because our biggest Achilles heel is our business environment and our weak politicians. Are we heading towards Nehruvian era? We are almost 50% there. Uh, Russia did say in the beginning of the LAC crisis that China will go away. After that, how can we trust them? Not to look. These are all complicated things. Let's see how it plays out. Be patient. This is an opportunity for India to negotiate and take back Aksai Chin and also authenticate West. No, no, let's not. You're now getting ahead of the time thing. Will the West allow USA the opportunity to control India? Out of question. Let me say. I think we need to improve the infrastructure and economic growth in Ladakh and near LAC. That's happening. So let's not worry about it beyond the point. Let's see who else. Is there any major? Yeah, Lieutenant General PRS explains complex issue with clarity of thought and excellent simple communication. His programs jointly with Major General Narayanan is a real intellectual feast. You know why I put this on? I must tell all of you. Yesterday I did this program with Rajiv, and a lot of people are upset with me that I didn't let Rajiv speak. And I got the feeling that they were all General Rajiv Narayanan's fans, and they feel that I talk more and interrupt in what he speaks. Must understand, Rajiv is a good friend of mine first, uh, right? And more importantly, when we have a discussion, it's not speaking over or against; it is speaking for, highlighting the point of view, or putting a point against that. Because this is an intellectual debate which I have with Rajiv. We keep talking every day almost. So you have to understand who's speaking to whom. I don't speak like that to everyone. I speak with Rajiv on points which we converge on. Convergence doesn't mean that you don't speak with through each other. Right? That's how it is. So please understand what I do with Rajiv. Is BJP losing its patience with China? That's the crux of the thing. Now ask the BJP. The way I look at it, does the BJP know what it's doing with China? Yeah, been subscribed. Thanks a lot, Rahul. You've been faithful to us. Been subscribed. This channel had barely 5,000 subs. Congrats, sir, for almost reaching for 40. Yeah. Thanks a lot. That to me is not a great issue. But all of you who come and see is more important to me. And you ask these questions. I have no problem with this whole story of answering questions and taking time out to deal with you people. Irrespective of the fact whether you become a member or not, which I request you all to become, or whether you give supers or not, I'm still taking questions. Go to another channel, no one will spend his time with you. And mind you, to be very honest, I had a major review today of our projects, and I came back home at about 7:15. I just said 45 minutes before I started. Will US make China fight a short war with India to bully India in their alliance to their alliance? No, US will not make it happen. But again, Anand, see that video today again of mine. The coming war with China. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And that's going to happen not only as what I said, because even it's as what China has written. How it will happen and all, we'll have to see. Don't say podcast is boring. I enjoy. No. I'm looking at it, from the point of view when you say Gaurav Arya ko leo, he talks very well, beautiful. But you get all the other channels. We have huge, views, shoes, yeah, all that. And you people say, why didn't you get those people? I mean, that's the way I am. Yeah, your predictions on China are coming true big time. Yeah, there's no doubt. I have never had a doubt about it. Chinese are seeking to poison Indian supply chain, making it difficult. Yeah, they will do all tricks. Now, those things is something which we have to look out. Your supply chains, your trade unions. I keep talking of the Sterlite case. We were a net exporter when the Sterlite factory was functioning in Tuticorin. There were problems. Everything happened, and then the factory closed. Now we are a net importer of copper from where? China. So you expect all that nonsense. How did that fire take place in the Apple factory? Why are there protests against Samsung factory in Chennai? 1 month long protest, something which one never heard of. All communist systems being activated in Tamil Nadu, which is prone to communism. Let's be clear what's going to happen. If we are not clear what's going to happen to us, then we are pretty fools. AIML, swarm drone killer, surveillance, better protective gear. Yeah, I agree with all this completely. Joe Santo, thanks a lot. Yeah, one more. Should it be our long-term strategy work for the destruction of the Han nation to our north? Let me put it a different manner. It should be our long-term strategy to liberate Tibet. You know, the famous quote which I keep saying, तिब्बत के आजादी में भारत का सुरक्षा है. Again, तिब्बत के आजादी में भारत का सुरक्षा है. If all of you come tomorrow at 8 o'clock, I'll start with this because I'm going to discuss Tibet. That's the angle which is very relevant to our relationship with China. I hope you people come. It's already this thing. And get your friends because no one is going to speak to Tibet about Tibet to all you chaps. Anyone. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge. Today, get anyone to speak about Tibet tomorrow or in this period. No one will talk to you about Tibet. What capabilities do we need to damage that highway near LAC to cut off Xinjiang tomorrow? I'll talk about tomorrow. It's something to do with Tibet. Will the situation improve in Bangladesh, sir? Doubtful. Again, I have to do a thing and let me see. But refrain from saying Modi ka ne karaya is all. You make the discussion political then. Everyone plays their part, it will be on your part. No, look, the guy, let me be very clear. Mr. Modi has done a lot and he's not done a lot. Let's be very clear about this story. I am not for him, I'm not against him. I am not for Mr. Nehru, I am not against Mr. Nehru. I am not for Mrs. Indira Gandhi or against. They all are prime ministers. But we should have the capability of judging what they did and what they did not. It's not political. Political is to say BJP did and Congress didn't. Or Janata Party didn't and Congress did. That is political. Here I am discussing my prime minister. And it is my democratic right to discuss my prime minister and evaluate him. Because tomorrow I have to vote for him. I have to vote him and his government. I have to take a call whether Mr. Modi is better for India or Mr. Rahul Gandhi is better for India or Mamta Banerjee is better for India or Omar Abdullah is better for India. I have to discuss him. He is my leader. It is my right to discuss him before I cast my vote for him. Understand the difference between assessment and political leaning. You don't seem to be getting that distinction. Germany wants to share defense technology with Bharat. Can we replace Russian and American equipment completely? We can't. Let me be very clear. Germany is talking like this, but they are not for India. Be very clear about it. Someone from Germany can tell me. They have no consciousness of India. सर MEA ने अभी कंफर्म कर दिया कि टुमारो इंडिया चाइना बायलैटरल मीटिंग शॉर्ट टर्म पीस. लेट्स सी. I don't know क्या है ये this. I don't understand. Yeah, Srinivas Gopal. New can't wait for tomorrow's conference. I'll read up as much as possible. Yeah, go ahead. Because I'm going to talk on the future. All of you come, must come. Because unless you chaps understand what Tibet is all about, you will not go anywhere. You talk very much to the point and explain very beautifully. Salute to you and your vision. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you about India being the sole protector, and we have a spiritual connect with Tibet. We have a cultural connect with Tibet, and we had a very wonderful, session on Sunday, Saturday with the Tibetans. There were about 500 young boys and girls in the region of 20 to 25. And the feeling I got from them was fantastic. But we need to do more. Okay. So that's how it is. Ask France, send troops to Romania to train against Russia and prepare. I'll tackle this some other day, Saju. Ask me this. Ask how will people of Tibet, be it Tibetans in Tibet itself or Tibetans on exile in Bharat, will be reacting to news of disengagement. Ask tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll talk of this. Okay? We'll talk of this tomorrow. Right. With this, I'll come to the end today. We've done 1 hour 40 minutes. I hope you people have enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it. And if you people have liked this video, please like. You put the thumbs up button. And those of you not seen it, subscribe. I'll be grateful if you subscribe, because then I can spread my thoughts and I can get you the best of guys. We're going to have a discussion on China situation with some very good guys next week. Like I'll get Rakesh Sharma, I'll get General Vinod Bhatia, and I'll get someone else. Three good people who've been handling Tibet, not Tibet, who've been handling China. I'll get them to talk, and who are senior to me and more experienced than me. And I'm going to also do a series on Tibet. Plus, I'll do something on Bangladesh, because Bangladesh, the situation is iffy. In fact, I would say, udhar hi ja raha hai, idhar nahi aa raha hai, wo udhar hi ja raha hai. We're going to have a problem with Bangladesh, but let me, maybe over the next 4-5 days. And then I'll get, because you might have to watch a few of my solos for a few days before I get a grip on myself, because my work in IIT is on the back foot. And till I catch up, I'll not be able to network with others and get people on the thing. Till then, thank you. I'll meet tomorrow evening. Good evening and Jai Hind to all of you. And thanks for attending.